Hello, it's Christmas morning. I think it's about 7 a.m. This is, I think, the fourth attempt on the video. I wasn't happy with the first, or the second, or the third. But something interesting did happen in one of them, so I'd like to tell you about that. And I think I'll try and edit it in, maybe, if I can be bothered. I'd like to get the video out today, but maybe I just won't. Anyway. There was a shooting star, and I think I've never seen one in my 20 years of being alive, almost 21. I'm not sure if I caught it on camera. I caught my reaction to it, and as you can imagine, my reaction wasn't really anything interesting. I just said, oh look, a shooting star. I don't think I've ever seen one before. Pretty much the same thing. I mean, you might say that was a one-to-one recreation. Anyway, it's a nice landscape. I think that is the sunrise. Maybe it's not terribly nice, but it's slightly pleasant, at least. So, what do we have to talk about? As you might expect, my sleep schedule is not the best. I woke up at about 3 a.m. and then I thought to myself, well, I'm bored. I have nothing to do. But I'm home for the holidays, and I don't want to bother people in the middle of the night by going on Discord and talking to people, obviously. I don't want to bother them by trying to play a video game, and the keystrokes and the mouse flicks will also be annoying. Not that I have much of an appetite for video games anyway. So I found this book that I have. It's Jordan Peterson's book, 12 Rules for Life. And I started reading it for a bit, and then I thought, I'm a terribly slow reader. So I went and I looked up one of his speeches, one that I have talked to people about in the past, one that I think I have watched in the past, or listened to rather. I believe it is called Who Dares Say He Believes in God? And I put it on 2 times speed, and I listened to about, I'd say 80% of it, maybe 85% of it, at which point I realized, the last time I listened to this, or anything of this sort, I would watch a bit of it, I'd pause it, and I would take maybe 5 times the time that I watched and spend that expanding, developing on what I heard. And I thought, I'm not doing it now. And so I tried to kind of force myself to do it. I didn't really force myself to do it, but I gave myself the space. So I would watch 30 seconds of it, maybe a minute, maybe 2. I would pause it, and I would try and think about what was just said. And then I found that when I did that, the empty space in my consciousness that was just freed up would be taken up by something else. And I thought, that's quite disappointing. Have I turned boring? Have I become disinterested in these kinds of things? Because, before I don't want to say that I prided myself on this, but I like to think of myself as someone that has at least a vague interest in philosophy and psychology, in the human mind, and in things that I can use to better myself. I consider myself introspective. And so I thought, I'm not sure I like this change, but what better thing to do than to try and be introspective again? So I did just that, and I looked at what this new thing that was occupying my mind was, and I found it to be this sort of almost anxiety, where despite it being Christmas, despite it being about 6 in the morning, I found that I needed to do something. And I don't know what, I just needed to have something to do. And I thought, well, that's annoying. I haven't really felt like this, or at least I haven't felt this emotion in a valid manner, or correctly, I should say, since June, I would say, when, despite being in university, I decided that the education they were offering me was lackluster, and so I took it upon myself to study and find a job, because I thought, I'm 20 years old and I do not like the fact that I'm not really becoming an adult. So I tried and did that. It took me about 5 months of studying, basically just web development on my own to get a job. And afterwards I figured I'd be happy. But now that I have financial stability. I can use the still quite a lot of free time that I have to rediscover, to thoroughly explore these things that I found myself being interested in. That being philosophy and psychology, perhaps even some other forms of education, maybe something else related to computer science that I would like to explore, such as offensive security or game hacking or whatever else, what you will. You see, despite the fact that it's Christmas and that it's 7, I think it's 7:30, there's still people outside, which I find is bothering me. The fact that I'm all the way out here should show you how much it's bothering me, because I've been trying to record videos and I keep being interrupted. But anyway, so I was saying, and I did that. I tried to do that, and then I found that I wasn't really being interested in it anymore. Hello. Or I'm not sure exactly how. And now that I think about it, I don't have like a certain moment where it just snapped in my mind. I just slowly stopped doing it. I slowly stopped caring about things that seemed interesting to me before. And now I thought, I have a lot of free time. I think I should pursue a second job, and so I did. And I won't bore you with the personal details, but eventually I stopped doing that. I should say that I was fired because the job was immensely repetitive and the pay was low, and I had gotten into the groove of doing it on my laptop whilst doing my actual real job on my computer, and so neglecting the second freelancing gig. Just the freelancing gig. My actual job is not a freelancing gig. Anyway. And now I found myself feeling the need to do something, to program. And not in the hobby way, but in the prove yourself type way. I found that I've lost my interest in games. I found that I've lost my interest in thinking about philosophy and psychology. And lately, this December, sorry for the cars, they're probably really loud. There shouldn't be too many of them. Lately this December, we've not had much work to do, and so, while I'm still on the clock, I'm still getting paid. I'm not paid hourly, I'm paid salary. I thought it'd be disrespectful to just waste that time by playing video games that I, first of all, don't even really enjoy. And so I've been looking up random things, and I thought, well, that's interesting. I have all this free time. Before I would abuse this even. But now I'm looking up videos on neural networks and, like computer security and all this jazz. It's not even really that interesting. I mean, there's some things like in science where if you have a knack for science, you might find interesting learning about enzymes or whatever the fuck. But these things are not really that kind of thing. Like neural networks, they're mostly just math. So they're not even really computer science. I still did it, and I thought, again, I really am turning boring. It's not that I'm becoming an adult. It's not that I have interest in furthering my career or, like securing a future for myself and my hypothetical future family. It's more so that I'm becoming void of anything that's interesting, and I don't like that. And I noticed how before I would join random Discord servers and I would talk to people for hours on end, and they would hate me for the fact that I talk too much. But I had things to say, and now I don't. Not really, no. I kind of just sit there. And other than talking about myself, which, let's be honest, I mean, nobody really wants to hear someone talking about themselves for like for a half hour, And I thought, how can I gain back what I've lost? I don't want it to be fake. I don't want it to be synthetic, if you will. That's a word I haven't heard in a while. I want it to be a sort of redemption story, sort of redemption arc, where I rediscover my previously lost interests without neglecting my, my professional life. But yeah.